Okay guys, so what we're going to be looking at today is actually two different reactions. We're going to be looking at the reaction between sodium bicarbonate and acetic acid, and we're going to be looking at the reaction of sodium bicarbonate with calcium chloride. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be mixing the reactants in this container. It's kind of a homemade calorimeter. The double nested cups allows for some heat retention, so basically some insulation. You have a lid, and at the top of the lid you have a tiny little hole punch. That hole punch will allow us to insert a thermometer in which we're going to actually measure the temperature of the change that occurs in these reactions. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually start out with our sodium bicarbonate and acetic acid. The first thing that we're going to actually do is we're going to measure out 10 milliliters of the acetic acid using a graduated cylinder. So we're going to go ahead and fill this the rest of the way up to the 10 milliliter mark. I have kind of distributed some of the liquid. Okay, and we want to go down to our eye level. Want to make sure that the bottom of the meniscus is at that 10 mil mark. Okay, and close that up. We're then going to add that to our calorimeter. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and just kind of gently put the lid on and set it aside. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to weigh out our sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so we have our scale here. Now, we never add anything directly onto the scale. We use something called weighing paper in order to obviously protect the scale surface. Now, some people are tempted to just take the weighing paper, which comes in a box like this, and just kind of set the unfolded paper onto that surface. Comes in sheets like this. That's problematic because when you go to distribute or add that solid into your container, you have a tendency to spill. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of two options. We're either going to fold it taco style, which is what I call this. I think this is the best approach. Or we're going to utilize the hot dog style. Okay, I think this is a less effective to distributing your solids, but it's honestly up to you. So I'm going to stick with the taco style because I think the taco style works best. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this onto our scale, and we're going to hit the 0 or the tare button, as it is referred to. Notice the scale has re-zeroed itself. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to weigh out 0.25 grams of the sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so we use our scupula here, and we gently add a little bit. Okay, so a little bit over. Oops, bam. Okay, close. Alright, so that's pretty close. I have 0.24 grams available here. That's pretty close, so I should be good. Okay, now, the next thing that I'm going to do is before I add my solid to my calorimeter that has my acetic acid in it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my initial temperature. Okay, and so I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to make sure that my thermometer is on, as you can see here. And I'm going to take the temperature measurement. So 23.5 degrees C is what I have here. If I was in Fahrenheit, obviously I need to swap it over because we don't measure in Fahrenheit in chemistry lab. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently remove that. I'm going to keep the thermometer threaded. Okay, and then I'm going to take my solid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly add my solid. I'm going to stick my thermometer into the reaction. It's hard for you to see, but there is bubbling that's occurring, okay? And hopefully what you're noticing is that my temperature, as this reaction is occurring, is actually decreasing, okay? And hopefully you guys can hear some of the bubbling. I know it's a little hard if you're not here in person, okay? But basically, we're going to let this reaction continue, and we're going to keep an eye on the thermometer. As long as the thermometer is decreasing, we're going to continue to keep an eye on it. So we can wait a few seconds, see if there's any changes. Okay, still got a little bit of bubbling going on. Yep. Okay, so it looks like the 22.0 is the lowest temperature, so it doesn't really look like there's much bubbling going on anymore, so we can assume that our reaction has reached completion. Okay, so the 22.0 is what we would record. Okay guys, so as we're moving on to experiment number 2, or the second part of this experiment, we're going to be looking at the reaction between sodium bicarbonate and calcium chloride. Now, as you know, we are going to be reusing some of our equipment. I do have a new calorimeter, just for simplicity's sake. Normally you would dispose of the waste in the waste container. You would rinse it out with deionized water, dry it, and have it prepared for the next trial. The other place that you need to decontaminate is the surface of the thermometer. Because we stuck our thermometer into the reaction mixture in the previous portion of the experiment, we need to decontaminate that surface. So what we'll do, we'll take a little bit of deionized water, rinse it down into a beaker. Okay, we'll dry off that surface, and then we'll take this beaker's contents and put it into the waste container. Okay, now that we have our decontaminated thermometer, we can go ahead and we can set up trial number 2, or experiment number 2. So first thing we're going to do, just like last time, we're going to take our liquid portion. In this case, it's a 0.25 molar solution of sodium bicarbonate. We're going to take that and we are going to measure out 10 milliliters of it. Okay. I've already pre-distributed some, again, just for time's sake, but basically you're going to add up those drops. You're going to check the bottom of the meniscus that it's on that 10 mil mark. Okay? And then you're going to add that to our reaction container, or that calorimeter. Okay, so we put that in, okay, just like we did last time. Set that aside. Okay, once again, thread the lid, right? Okay, we're going to go ahead and again set that aside. Now, the next thing we need to do, again, we need to get our solid component. Once again, we're going to use a scale. Remember, taco style. Okay, we set up our weigh paper on the scale. Okay, hit the tare button. We zero it, and in this case, we're actually going to use 0.20 grams of the calcium chloride. Okay, so hopefully I can do a better job about getting it right on the first time. It's pretty close. So, okay. So 0.20 grams, pretty much straight on. Good. Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that. All right, now, next thing we're going to do, again, we're going to put the lid on. Okay, and we are going to check our initial temperature. Okay, once again, we want to make sure that we're in Celsius. Okay, and it's very important so that we don't have to do other conversions later. Okay, it's easier to just be straight away. Okay, it looks like, once again, we're starting at about 23.5 degrees C. Okay, once again, okay, we're going to make this transition. I'll use my right hand for this part. Okay, quickly add our solid. Okay. Put our lid on. Okay. Go ahead and check our temperature. Okay, if we take a look at this, okay, what you notice here is our temperature appears to be increasing. Okay, now I don't see a whole lot of fizzing or anything in this reaction, but there's definitely kind of a milky appearance to the reaction mixture. Again, I know it's hard to see because you guys are not here in person, okay, but you can take my observations for what they are. Okay, and once again, we're going to watch the temperature. In this case, if you look at the temperature, notice what's happening to it, the direction that it's moving. We want to keep recording or monitoring until we no longer see a change in the direction in which it's going. So we're going to go ahead and let it go. Looks like we might be, oh, almost done. So I think we're pretty much done. So 25.4, looks like that's the final temperature that we reach for this particular reaction. Okay, once again, we'll decontaminate our surfaces, dispose of our reactants in the correct location, waste container. And now we have the data that we need in order to determine the questions associated with this lab.